What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledParents. This story's called Entitled Parent Ignores My Warnings About a Book Series for Her Daughter, Then Calls to Scream About the Series Being Inappropriate. Hi all! A friend of mine introduced me to all these types of subreddits recently, and I'm hooked. It's a running joke among some of my coworkers or friends that I have a face that attracts the crazies. Entitled parents, choosing beggars, for whatever reason, they seem to flock to me. I have so many good stories that I can't wait to share with you guys. This is gonna be a long one. Sorry, not sorry. The cast. There's me, entitled mother, boss lady. I used to work at a large-scale bookstore. It was common for parents to come in and ask for recommendations for their children or nieces and nephews, and they usually were extremely grateful for the help. It was a slow night when in walks Entitled Parent. Now, it's been about 2 years since this happened, and I can still clearly see her walking into the store and thinking to myself that it was gonna be one of those interactions. Dark brown-black hair and the standard Karen do, shoulders set in pure entitlement and that expression of self-importance. You know the look, "You're a retail worker and I make so much more than you, so I'm better than you" look. Hey, anything I can help you find today? Yes, my daughter is into that Japanese cartoon thing, and I want to get her reading more. She wants some of those books for her birthday. To those who might not know, the Japanese cartoon thing is called anime. And a lot of the time, the show is based off of a comic-like book called manga. We had 2 sections for manga, one that had more mature, 16+ series, and then one for younger kids that included series like Naruto, Sailor Moon, or in High School Host Club, etc. I took her over to the first one while asking how old her daughter was, 11, what sort of things she was into, usual kid stuff, and what entitled parent was okay with her reading. It'll be fine. Usually, I have an idea on what the kid might like, but entitled parent was giving me nothing to work with. After some more prodding, entitled parent rolls her eyes at me. Just give her whatever's popular with girls her age. Alright, I lead her away from the 16+ section towards the kids section when something catches entitled parent's eyes. I thought you said there was nothing in this section for my daughter. I turn and see she is holding up the first volume of Puella Magi Madoka Magica. The art style is deceiving with that series. It's drawn super cutesy and all the girls look really young and innocent. It looks like your typical magical girl series where the girls dance around and fight baddies with their powers. For the first bit, it is like that. Until it's not. It's classified as a psychological thriller and dark fantasy, and oh boy is it ever. I watched the anime and let me tell you, the story screwed me up for a bit. Definitely not something an 11-year-old girl should be reading. Oh, that series looks cute, but it's actually pretty graphic and deals with mature subjects. I'm not sure it'd be something that an 11-year-old could handle. Entitled Parent begins flipping through the book. Manga is set up differently than your average book. It's basically backwards. So, what Entitled Parent thought was the end of the first volume was actually just the beginning. You obviously don't know what you're talking about. It looks fine. No, I've watched the series. The beginning is purposefully like that. There's a lot of messed up things in that series that I don't think would be suitable for a girl your daughter's age. We're allowed to say this to customers, by the way. Usually, when we tell parents about the contents in a book, they either thank us for letting them know and not get the book, or they say that they're fine with their kids reading it. Got another story like that about Stephen King and a 7-year-old. Why are you trying so hard to stop me from buying this? Books are going out of business. No, they aren't, but okay, lady. And you need my sales. I'm not trying to stop you from buying anything. I was taking you to over where there was manga that was more suitable for your daughter's age. No, you're trying to stop me from buying. Can I speak to someone who actually knows what they're talking about? Jokes on Entitled Parent. I was the only one working that evening that knew anything about manga or comic books. My break was coming up and I really didn't want to fight her on this. Ma'am, I'm just saying that the series gets dark. If you're okay with your daughter reading that, then you can buy it. I'm just doing my job, letting you know that it isn't as innocent as it looks. Oh my god. This is all just kid crap anyway. Mature adults don't read this type of crap. The look she gave me made it clear that what she said was a personal jab at me. I was 26 during this incident, and while I might look young, I do look to be out of my teens. This biznatch had the nerve to look down her nose at me for trying to help with her daughter's present and then says that? Oh hell no! I felt the malicious complaint start to bubble within. If you're okay with her reading it, then I'm not stopping you from buying it. If that's what you think she'll like. Entitled Parent huffs, then proceeds to buy the entire series for her daughter. I'm free from her and go up on my break, telling Boss Lady about the Entitled Parent, and we laugh about it. I finish my shift and go home. My next shift, Boss Lady finds me and tells me that the next day they got a call from Entitled Parent screaming at the poor person who answered the phone that her precious baby began crying when her favorite character died in an extremely violent way, and that it was that stupid girl working who convinced Entitled Parent that the series was perfectly fine for her 11-year-old daughter. Boss Lady tells the lady that she can return the books if she wants, but reminds her that I tried many times to say that it wasn't appropriate for her daughter. Entitled Parent gets all huffy, says that she will tell everyone she knows how horrible we are, and that she will make an already dying store dead. Boss Lady and I had a good laugh and went down to help the cashiers as the line was wrapping around the store. Wow, that's a pretty good story. Yes, books are not dead. Lots of people still read. And yes, you should really listen to people when they're trying to warn you about something that you're going to give your kids. I don't understand how in the world she thought, oh yes, I don't even know what this is called, but this person who knows it by name and has literally told me things about it must not know anything about it at all. Yeah, her kid's traumatized now. This story's called Springtime Festival Always Brings Out the Best in Entitled Parents. Yesterday, we had a springtime festival hosted by my grandmother's school. It was a small thing, with only about 100 people showing up. But this was a concentrated mess of entitled parents. An amalgamation of all the 7 deadly sins. Lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. And today, I'll share stories of all these happening in the span of 8 hours. But first, more backstory. The event was a small fundraiser for the school, as well as a competition for podgeckos. So many of the school students came along with families and family friends, and most of us were in a pretty great mood. I was stationed at the games area managing 2 different games, namely a pop a balloon and ring toss. Most of the time, just making sure kids played fair, and got the prizes they deserved. One other thing to note is that since there was a competition for the podgeckos, people who wanted to vote for the best tasting dish had to buy a single-use meal ticket to get a serving of food, vote, and stand a chance to win a prize raffle at the end of the event. Names will be standard as always. Entitled Parents and me. Now, on to the 7 deadly sins! Lust. This one, in my opinion, was one of the worst, considering the event was held at a school with kids around. Entitled Parent decided her and her partner needed some alone time and thought that my games tent would be the best place to do exactly that, as it had a closing zip flap. Approaching me with her lover, the following conversation happened. Hey there, I was wondering if you could help us out. Sure thing, what do you 2 need? Well, our kids are having a ball and, well, hubby and I didn't have time for each other for a long time. And we were hoping you'd tell the kids your clothes so we can use your tent? You want me to tell kids that the all-day games booth is closed because some adults want some alone time? It sounds bad when you say it like that. Just tell them we want to cuddle for a while. I'll make it worth your while. At this, she reached into the man's pocket, pulling out a crumpled $10 bill. Something that here is basically enough to buy a soda. Yeah, no, I think you'll have more luck trying the bathrooms, and if you keep asking me to do anything, I'll call a teacher to escort you out. You're such a brat, you know. People like you are why romance is dying. If you think that cuddling in a tent in public is romantic, I'm glad I killed that. Entitled Parent turned and walked away with a huff. Strangely enough, the guy was looking at me with a very sad, help me expression. Gluttony. Once it was about 1 in the afternoon, an announcement was made that the games and entertainment would be temporarily closed, to allow everyone to head over to the food stalls of the festival and get some food. Everyone seemed to be in good spirits, and the smells were really great. And this attracted people from across the street to attend the festivals as well. everyone taking their portions of food from the chefs they deemed looked like first prize material. And, as always, entitled parent had to make sure he got everything, even if that meant nobody got anything. He was a heavyset man, thundering his way past other people, and I'm pretty sure his gut knocked over a kid in the process. He brought his own plates, and it was more akin to a cake pan than a plate, heaping up a large portion of rice, as well as macaroni and 5 pieces of cornbread. He helped himself to massive helpings of around 5 people's cooking, most of them in pure shock as the food kept getting piled higher and higher. At one cooking station, I stood behind him and saw the stew levels drop by about an inch while he served himself. The entitled part of the story? He never even finished his plate. Greed. Back to the gaming booth, we have a wonderful example of a cookie monster we'll call Satan Spawn the First. Satan Spawn the First was a typical bratty kid, trying to cut in line and trying his best to cheat without getting caught. Typical of an 8-year-old, you say? But Satan Spawn the First is special. Satan Spawn the First was in 9th grade, 15 years old. Every time he cut in line, I ignored him until I reached the kid he could have gotten behind. Then just maybe I'd take his tickets and he can play. It wasn't long until Super Saiyan 1 was banned from playing Papa Balloon as he tried to throw a dart at me while I was setting up the balloons, commanding me to go faster. In a ring toss, he wasn't far away from a ban due to his major lack in listening to the rules, standing with his whole body across the throwing line while leaving his one foot in there and claiming he was still behind the line. I didn't care as Satan Spawn the First couldn't throw for crap no matter how much he cheated. The last time, however, as he was waiting his turn, outside the line of course, one of the smaller kids managed to pop 5 balloons consecutively, winning him the best prize. A Nerf Elite Infinite gun sponsored by a toy store, as the school was a longtime advertiser of the store. Satan Spawn the First threw a fit, basically screeching as he tore the gun from the small kid, maybe about 8 years old at the time, and started running away. Thankfully, one of the older kids managed to trip him and we got the gun back, calling his parents, to which the following occurred.
"Why is my son crying? What did you do to him?"
I explained the situation to her and told her that, due to his behavior, he was not allowed near the games booth again.
"But what if he really wanted that toy? Why didn't you give it to him?"
"Miss, another kid has already won it fair and square. If your son wanted it so badly, he should have played better at the games."
"Well, why don't you give my son that gun and the other kid could have this?"
She points to an RC car in the second place prize pool, kneeling down to the kid to try and convince him he wants the car instead. He wasn't taking the bait. Entitled parent got upset and tried to threaten the boy with getting him into trouble with his parents, and he just darts out of her clutches into the crowd.
"That boy stole our gun! Are you not gonna call someone to get it from him?"
And she's pointing to me. No, because he won it, as I said. Entitled parent looked at me in disgust and walks away with a bawling 15-year-old boy. Sloth. This one is not as bad, but still really trashy in my opinion. One of the contestants for the competition would constantly be sitting on a chair, drinking beers, while either his son or his wife tends to the food, with him barking out orders. And whenever someone said something about his food, complimenting it, he was quick to say that it all came from a good amount of hard work. Yeah, right. Wrath. Not much that I can say for this one. One entitled parent thought that they were Gordon Ramsay and insulted everyone else's food, hollering at customers when they didn't take food from him, and threatening to punch me when I made a comment of him being crazy. Envy. This one ties into the story of greed, as Satan Spawn the First makes a return appearance along with another stellar cast member, Satan Spawn the Second. Since Satan Spawn the First was banned from the games booth following his Nerf meltdown, he resorted to using his little brother to get his new sought-after prize, a Nerf Elite Fire Strike pistol. The only kink in his plan was his brother didn't fare any better, and he soon called his mom again to mediate a deal.
"How much for that toy gun?"
5 points with the balloon pop and 3 rings tossed on the center pole. But your son won't be winning it as he isn't allowed to play anymore.
"No, I mean, how much can I buy it for with cash?"
I think about $10,000 might do the trick. This was purposefully an exaggeration as the gun cost around $400 here.
"What? You can't be serious! What else do you want for that gun?"
5 points at the balloons, 3 rings on the center pole.
But you said my son can't play!
Sorry, miss. He should have thought about what he did before he tried stealing another kid's prize. After this tirade, entitled parent and both Satan's spawns walked a short distance away as all of them glared at the kids slowly but surely pecking away at the larger prizes, their faces becoming sour by every win. It was satisfying, to say the least. I even gave them a little wave when a large prize was won. Pride. The sin of pride reared its ugly head at the end of the day following the raffle and the final calls for the winner. The raffle was going smoothly, and afterwards came the competition conclusion. 4th, 3rd, and 2nd came and went. The announcer keeping a lighthearted atmosphere as he joked with the contestants, giving them their prizes and thanking them for their effort. Entitled parent from Wrath then assumed he would naturally be first, as of course, Gordon Ramsay makes the best food. And he took the mic from the announcer and thanked everyone for their votes, saying how glad he was to win. After a couple of minutes of stunned silence, the entitled parent turned to face the announcer to ask if he did, in fact, win. The announcer shook his head, and to this entitled parent's amazement, another person, in fact, had won. With a loud "Frick!" he tossed the mic to the ground and stormed off, angry at the world. A fun day overall, save for the sins. For each entitled parent, there were 10 other parents who appreciated the work we were doing. And I've even gotten tips from some of them. Okay, the writing in this story was really beautiful and very clever to use the 7 deadly sins as little sections and, titles for each of the entitled parents. A little suggestion would be to for each entitled parent in each of the stories, or I guess the subject of each of the stories, give them the name of the section they're in. So the entitled parent from the Wrath section would be called Wrath. Anyways, fun read. Let me know in the comments below any cool fair stories or, festivals or whatever you want to call them. For instance, when I was a kid, I was part of the cherry pie eating contest at the Cherry Festival in Idaho, and that was a load of fun given that my whole thing as a kid was that I loved pie. And that was something that people knew about me, I had a reputation at school for loving pie. And I would draw pies on every one of my homework assignments and, my tests, and it was even part of my 4th grade signature, if you even have a signature when you're in 4th grade. My freaking teacher baked 5 pies for a potluck just for me. And, it was pretty cool. But anyways, it's irrelevant. But let me know in the comments any stories. This story's called Kid Breaks Backboard on School Basketball Hoop. Parents Refuse to Pay for Damages. So this will be a pretty short story, as I didn't witness this, but oh well. So in 5th grade, my school had this thing called Friday clubs. And these clubs were ran by the teachers. Basically, every Friday, we'd get out of class early to go do random crap. One of these clubs was a basketball club led by Mr. Math. He was my math teacher. And one person in this club was Tim, obviously not his real name, and he was the biggest feminine hygiene product in the entire school. So, one day, the basketball club was out on the blacktop playing knockout. Tim ends up getting out, so since he has a temper as short as Danny DeVito, he throws a rock at the hoop they weren't using, shattering it. Word got around the school pretty fast, and I knew this would happen at some point, as I've seen this guy's mom. Karen haircuts, on her phone a crap ton, upper to upper middle class mom, you get the picture. Basically, after his parents hear about this, they refuse to pay the damages of the backboard. No one will upvote this, but I don't really care, just wanted to share. Boy, were you wrong, Mr. 600 plus upvotes. That's screwed up though. Schools' budgets are usually stretched thin as is, and if you can afford it, which they apparently can if the dude's description was correct, they should pay the damages, no questions asked. That's screwed up. Plus, by not paying for the damages, you're enabling your kid to be a jerkwad even more. I think you should pay for it, up front, and then make your kid pay you back by doing work and all that crap. Teach him discipline through manual labor. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.